special edition here of Detroit City Sportscast. Garrett here, Adam with me on there, always getting ready, doing eventually all the hard production work. We are not alone today. This is what we'll call, maybe, hopefully won't be the last time, our Detroit City FC year-end special. Joining us today on this Monday, December 30th is Sean Mann, someone that we've got to know quite regularly over the years, but someone who is maybe the most front and center Detroit City FC in terms of the organization, chief operating officer, and somebody that has been probably maybe all over the place when you look at the growth of Detroit City Football Club in this last year. We're going to talk about that, but and everything that was 2024 and moving forward. But first off, Sean, thank you for taking the time to join us. Happy holidays. Soon to be a happy new year. How are you today?
Yeah, doing good. I am coming off of spending a little bit of quality time with the family, but also a harsh realization that there is no off season for DCFC anymore, right? So I think my wife and kids are more appreciative of that fact these days than ever before. But yeah, all is good. All is good.
It's like the NFL, Sean.
And I goofed.
Yeah.
Chief
There's no
executive
off-season.
officer, not chief operating. So that's
Yeah. Well, I always joke I was the first one to quit my day job, so I got to be CEO. So here we are all these years later. But no, and if you look at the 25 schedule, it's funny. Yes, we are all year round, but we have focused on all Saturday games in 25. Maybe someday we'll get to the point of having Tuesday, Thursdays, and Friday games, but 25, it's all Saturdays, every Saturday.
We'll definitely kind of throw in. I was kind of thinking, since it's the next to last day of the new year, let's a little bit of reflecting on the year that was. We get to talk about a little bit about the year that's taking place, and then maybe kind of we'd love to get your insights on definitely the future, not just for Detroit City FC, but also the landscape of United States soccer, as we are going into a year with, a couple of big things starting off there. So why don't we start off with 2024, a year that was for Detroit City FC. On the women's side, the first season of indoor soccer, which was a big hit, and a W League side that made it all the way to the national semifinal. And for a men's USL championship side that not only met the goal that was said last December about making playoffs and making a home game, finishing top 3 in the Eastern Conference, unbeaten run in the final 9, big run at the end, unfortunate exit via penalties, and also off the field with the big news of the stadium announcement and the goal for that to be set up in goal for 2027. So having this time to look back, and as we are near the end of the year, Sean, on the field, off the field, do you feel like this has been, if you guys has met the goal, has this been meeting the goals of where you're at, or do you feel like right now you're even exceeding right now where you may have thought you would have been at this time?
Yeah, 24 was a massive year for the club. It has, because we still got another day and there's a lot of stuff to get done before the end of the calendar year. But yeah, it's been huge. And actually we're a sports team and we're judged by lifting trophies and stuff like that. But sports is also there's more to it than that, right? And there's it's about the memories, and if we're looking as an organization, it's about growth. And there's just growth all across the organization, as you mentioned. Like, the women's indoor thing, I think we just the ladies approached us about doing that, and we jumped into it, kind of have some fun with it as a lark, and yeah, it was great. I thought it set the tone for the whole year. It was just a lot of fun. Then that segued into the men's season, and again, creating those memories. I will never forget the Houston night. Right, that was an all-time favorite. Not just because I sweat off like 15 pounds in 2 hours, but like that was Yeah, that's just one of those nights I'll never forget, right? From where, and I remember being down on the field with Nate and just being like, afterwards being like, even though he didn't play that night, he was fully into every moment of it, and just being like going from FC Indiana to, beating the Open Cup champions, like what a wild journey this has been, right? And then yeah, the women, Dave, appreciate all the work him and his team put into the W League side, and we came up short on the overall championship, but made huge strides, and the USL named us the W League Club of the Year, for on field and off field, and yeah, then the guys went on an amazing tear. Um, Towards the back half of the year, one of the best this club's ever seen, and we hit our goal on that side of getting a home playoff game. I mean, obviously that's the obvious benchmark is like for growth. I think talking to Danny is looking to 25 is like, yeah, a home playoff game. That was great. That was awesome atmosphere. Obviously frustrating to go down PKs, leave a bitter taste in your mouth. But next year, like it's a more ubiquitous goal of like, obviously we should be a home playoff team. Like, how are we establishing ourselves? It's like we should be in that mix in that conversation. When you think like who's going to be at the top table, it's DCFC, and so it's a maybe like a softer target, but that's where we're trying to be off the on the field is we should be in that conversation of those at the top of the pack, and so 24 set us up for that. And yeah, it was a great year on the field. Obviously, came up short of like lifting trophies, but shy of that, it was a lot of positive takeaways.
What would you say, without throwing there's obviously the big top echelon moments. Open Cup you mentioned about Houston, stadium news, um, the win over Indy to clinch the in the W League, in the regional. What are some other moments that you would feel like you rank it personally as on the field or off the field as some of your like absolute favorite moments pertaining to the club in 24?
Well, I mean, the stadium project's been something that I've dedicated a significant portion of my life the last 4 years to, and so the fact that it finally got leaked and like became in the public, that was pretty significant. That like something that to me is kind of the in many ways kind of the ultimate culmination of like everything we've been building over these years, putting into practice. Like that we hit this incredible milestone that I think surprised people in this town. That, so I've always taken joy in that is beating expectations and surprising people. And this is the ultimate chutzpah moment for DCFC is to pull this off. And so acquiring 17 acres of land in the city. I don't think anyone would have thought we could do that. Certainly not in 2012, but honestly, this time a year ago, no one thought we could do it. And we assembled, I think, with a tract of land that people. I mean, I have not heard anyone push back on the location or anything like that. I think everyone's very excited by it, and to do it in incredibly quick amount of time and navigating a lot of challenges. So I think that to me was like on a very personal level, like, because I've just been so invested in that project. But there's so many moments over the course of a year that it's hard to, yeah, I don't know. It's just like it comes entirely your whole life, right? I would say, and this is like, there's fun moments, right? Lost my effing mind when we were at Charleston and Kisiedu got that tying goal. That was an all-time favorite moment.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, I don't know why that game just stood out, right? That was an all-timer for me. That was just a lot of fun, and to do that, and it just momentum kept going, even though Connor got that stupid red. The guys came together, and just so much positive vibes. But no, I think it's just little things. I every time I'm in the field house these days, like after school, or early evenings, and like all the families in the city that are in utilizing the space, and then like the old, not old, but like the young adult, our old co-ed leagues, like filtering in, just like seeing that space utilized, like creating that space in the city means a lot to me. And now, like just in little moments, interactions I have around town with people, just seeing how the club's impacting their lives. I was at a, not to go totally off topic, but like I was just at one of my kids' friends' birthday parties downriver, and shockingly, it was kind of like undercover boss. No one knew me. And it was all these Latino families, and I was kind of there, kind of like sitting quietly, and I didn't know any of the parents, and I'm not normally an outgoing guy. And funny enough, most all the kids are playing DCFC youth, and they were all talking about like how the program, how much the kids love the program, how some of them are looking to move back into the city because of school, but also just how much time they're spending with DCFC and at the field house, and how their ecosystem has moved back into the city from downriver. And it's like those are the types of things that like I walked away from just like just a huge amount of pride that like how this thing that we've created, how it's impacting people's lives in ways we never could have imagined. So, and that's just, it's ramping up more and more every year. And that's what's so exciting to me. And that's where I feel like the stadium project, doing that, doing it right is where this gets just accelerated.
Sean, Garrett kind of touched on it a second ago, but when you helped establish the club back in 2012, is this where you thought it would be right now? Did you ever imagine it getting to this point, fully professional men's side, coming off, an amazing, outdoor women's season, and really kind of, not kind of, you are positioning the team, in the same conversation as, the other big four teams. Whether you're talking about the Lions, the Tigers, the Pistons, the Red Wings. Did you ever imagine that? Because you could only imagine it's only going to keep on getting bigger from here on out. But when you helped establish the team and it came, back in 2012, is this where you thought it would be at this point?
I like, I guess my patented go-to line is like, yes, like I had and have big aspirations for DCFC, but I could never imagine the path, and I certainly could never imagine the timeline that we've taken. Right? I could not have imagined the people that have been a part of this whole endeavor, but I still have dreams that DCFC is playing the Club World Championship at some point, right? There's there has to be big aspirations to keep pushing, you and this whole, endeavor along. But no, I could never anticipated in 2012 that like, in 24 we're buying, some of the 17 acres of land in my own backyard to build a stadium, right? I couldn't imagine that. So here we are, and it's very real. And we got a long ways to go to be at the level of like the four major sports in town. But man, like we're not like far outside the realm, right? Like we're
Sean, you had Dan Campbell wearing a Detroit City FC shirt to a Monday Night Football game walking in. So.
3 months ago to the exact date.
Yeah, so that's if you're not there yet, I understand that, but you're getting close.
Right. Yeah. I think we have and we are continuing to punch above our weight, right? Like, I know what their budgets are and I know what our budget is, so that's why I say the gap is. But like culturally, like relevance, like yeah, like we are definitely punching above our weight. I know like John Glazer, I would never in the span of like 48 hours, us beating Houston in the Open Cup, and then I'm in bed at John Glazer's head to toe in some bit wearing DCFC, every article of DCFC merchandise possible. Like, there's all these kinds of moments happening that, you could not imagine. So, we'll keep pushing ourselves on that front and we'll keep growing, organization fiscally. But, yeah, it's exciting, right? And I appreciate all the people that have been a part of it and made it possible. And, I feel there's that sense of pride among the people in the stands, whether they're at games all the time or, I just bump into them regularly. They make 1 or 2 games a year, but like they were there at one point and, and to see, and they played a role and now to see where the club is and going. I think that's that shared sense of ownership that's been key to DCF's success.
I suppose I'll do one final question for 2024, and then I'll roll it over to Adam because I think Adam's got a couple good questions on the upcoming stadium project. In 2024, looking back as we're close to it, if you go back, if there's anything that that was done that you'd want a second crack at to either nail whether it's an unveiling, a reveal, announcement, to say if you wanted to like either refine it or just maybe do it a little bit differently. Is there anything in your mind that sticks out?
Um, I think there's all kinds of like small things, but not in a big way. I guess, just personality wise, I try not to harp too much on the past. I mean, obviously lessons be learned, but no, I guess always kind of trying to look forward as much as possible. I mean, in terms of the stadium announcement, I think we did the best we could in terms of, like, I mean, what we're doing is pretty unique in the sense that, well, one, like we didn't use, no public land was involved in the process, right? So we dealt with 7 different private entities, and somehow none of them figured out who we were or what we were up to. But we don't have any one person writing the check for this project, so it is a lot of partnerships with a lot of people involved, and so somehow we kept it under wraps for as long as we did, just long enough to like get all the land we needed under contract. But yeah, I guess I had daydreams of like a different probably rollout of like the stadium announcement in a different timeline. But all things considered, the main objective was acquiring the land, and we did that, and it was about the best process we could have managed given the circumstances.
So a midday rollout I think in March wasn't the plan originally. Because I remember getting that email from Alex and him saying, "Yeah, Brian's got the story. We're getting ready to roll with it, and
Yeah.
this is what's happening."
Yeah, I mean, I think Cranes had picked up on it a few months earlier, and we'd pushed them off long enough just so that we could get, a last of the parcels under contract. But no, we basically were given a few hours notice, being like the story's going live, or you can get and engage with it or not. And so we broke glass and put it out there. So yeah.
And speaking of Cranes, obviously they wrote that article. Was it earlier in the month, late last month?
Last week,
it was
the
a
latest
pretty
piece.
Yeah, the latest piece. It was a pretty. I don't know. It was a title that stands out if you
Right.
aren't aware really of really how things work with professional sports teams and stadiums and soccer, which is what they touched on later on in the article. It was titled, though, "Detroit soccer team loses millions each year. How will it pay for a new stadium?"
Right.
Talking to some of the supporters, some of them thought it was a hit piece. Some of them thought it was, a fair piece, as they read on. What were your initial thoughts, though, when you kind of saw that headline come out and dropped by Cranes?
Yeah, I mean, they had sent us a list of questions in advance, and given the tone of the questions, we had especially one, like we'll talk about the financing, we'll talk about those details when we're ready to, like any other entity in town, and so we weren't going to speak to those, and then given some of the questions and the angle that they took, yeah, we just had kind of we understood where they're coming from, and we felt it wasn't in our interest to engage on it. I mean, so like old friends of the club, like Stefan Szymanski, I think we're made good points about the state of soccer, not just in this country but globally. I mean, he's made a career writing books about the struggles of lower division soccer teams around the world, right? So, yeah, I mean, I guess I was a bit disappointed, but I mean, the bigger takeaway was just I think people know us and know the sports landscape is just kind of a non-story. The number of people in the sports industry that text me just being like, mockingly with jokes like breaking news, pro team playing in high school venue can't make money, or, breaking news, American lower soccer division team, is in the red. it was just kind of a non-story, and that's why I think we were kind of disappointed that they decided to run with it. But it's a reminder that, in one sense, I think we're um, still very much like outsiders in this landscape, and with that, there's people questioning, our capabilities. But also it's just a reminder that like there's very few things in sports as interesting as a stadium, and there's just a lot of attention that's going to be on this project and us, as we bring it to fruition.
Now, whether or not they're assumptions or negative headlines or hit piece titles or anything like that, do you think a lot of this is coming from I don't want to say the fact, but just that there hasn't been a whole lot of information coming out about where the money is coming from to build it. And if you want, you can tell us right now where the money's coming from. But I'm just putting that out there, Sean. If you want to lay it out now, you can. But if you don't, that's fine too.
No, it's not super complicated. Like it's a combination of equity raised and debt, and certain guaranteed revenue streams. So, the public support aspect of it is minimal in the scheme of stadiums as they go. But those are details we're still sorting out with the city, and look forward to rolling out in the near future. But again, I don't know. I think I take some solace in that we assembled, 17 acres of land in less than 9 months, which other similar stadium district projects did over multiple decades, right? And we did it without public support. And so, I think that's how we're approaching the entire project, is doing this as quickly as we can, and doing it, with as much of a private focus as possible. And there's no one individual writing a check for this project, and so we don't have an open checkbook. So it means that there's a lot of people participating in it, and also, without public support like Grand Rapids or anything like that, like this is on us to line up and lock in partnerships, revenue streams, things that a bank would make you feel comfortable loaning us tens and tens of millions of dollars to build this venue. So we just have extra, onus and extra hurdles that we have to jump through that you wouldn't with a typical stadium project if we had a hotel tax or a rental car tax dedicated to support the project.
And then a question
they did make mention.
Oh, go on, Adam.
Go ahead, Garret.
I was going to say
they did mention $2.27 million lost in 2023. They also mentioned too Oakland Roots losing like $10 million. I'm assuming Detroit City didn't lose $10 million this past year. Hopefully
not. No. No. We have supporter partners that we brought in. We've built a runway to keep growing this. It's not a endless runway. Like I think that was we were trying to convey in the story. Was that as much as we love Keyworth, it's not suitable for where we're at or where we want to be, and it's not going to be our long-term solution, right? And that's the driving force to keep moving forward with this project. So
you mentioned you mentioned Keyworth, Sean. And there wasn't a whole lot of things on the face that happened, this past season with Hamtramck City Council or anything like that. Unlike 2023, when you wrote that, kind of that open letter talking about how disappointed, the club was and some of the steps that the Hamtramck City Council was taken with regards to the pride flags and so on and so forth. Did the new Hamtramck City Council and the position of the school board kind of, maybe expedite this whole process when it came to, finding Detroit City FC's, forever home in the new stadium and trying to get out of, get out of Hamtramck?
Yeah. So, outside of the pride issues in 23, we haven't had a lot of interactions with Hamtramck City Council. Now, I've a good working relationship with a lot of city staff, and we have for a long time. And obviously, much more of our time is spent interacting with the school district because they're the owners of Keyworth. I would say that the news of us leaving was a release valve on pressures on in that relationship, and us providing a runway to getting out of Hamtramck, I think has mitigated some concerns in the community. Some, I mean, there's always going to be some people who take issue with us bringing 7,000 people into the neighborhood, but I think the notion that there's an exit has been a relief to some folks in the community, and mitigated some pressures.
Yeah, and that was kind of what I was about to ask anyway on there, and I'm glad Adam was able to touch on that, just because I know, like, from what we've seen, and I've personally going to 17 and like working 10 minutes from there, it is a massive undertaking to do a match day, men's or women's, at Keyworth. So and to be able, I think it's going to be fun I'm sure you're looking forward to when you have it in your own stadium. Instead of taking things in and out every single day, you have your own property, you have your own storage, so I'm sure the logistics side of this operation is going to look forward to the days of 27-20 when the stadium's done and they're like, all right, let's go.
It's I always get a kick when we go to like the other stadiums, like the proper stadiums with the proper setup, and you see interns rolling up 30 minutes before the doors open, instead of 8 hours before the doors open, right? Like it's just different, right? Like your bedroom looks different than when you stay at a hotel, right? Because you got to back up, take down, clean up, check on our beds. It's just a different production, and so very much looking forward to have a place of our own, and one where we can do a lot of other things. We have a limited use of Keyworth, and even this year, with the partnership with Wayne State, before even the sponsorship partnership evolved, we had started working with the new athletic director to practice at Wayne State more and more because they put in a new turf field. And so, we're very conscious of, Keyworth, our impact of Keyworth, and our limited use of it, and that we've been dialing that back even more and more over time.
John, we mentioned Hamtramck City Council. How's everything gone with Detroit, and maybe Detroit City Council, with the building of a new stadium? Because we've seen this past year teams in the league that have had trouble with mayors and city council when it came to building new stadiums. For instance, Indy 11 having trouble erecting their new stadium based on the mayor wanting to bring MLS into Indy. We saw Memphis essentially lose their team because they couldn't finalize their stadium deal with the city, and they shipped their rights off to Santa Barbara. How has that process gone for you and the club, especially when it comes to city council and in dealing with that aspect? Because we know that, that I'm assuming that can be burdensome, tiring, exhausting, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, I think that's been top of mind for us throughout this whole process. And so I think we've taken an approach that actually, we're asking as little of city government as possible. But that being said, the mayor, his economic development team, the DGC, planning, all the different departments that you touch, have been incredibly supportive and solution oriented. And, the biggest issues facing us are, parking minimums. It's not a question of public referendums or anything like that. Because that's not what we're asking for. I think we appreciate the not just who we are, but also the public sentiment around stadiums, has turned, and so we've tried to create a path here that's as light a lift for the city as possible. Not to say there won't be a public approval process and anything like that, but we've consciously been working, for the last more than half a year, with, multiple calls a week with different city agencies, figuring out that path to make this, project check all the boxes, but also be something that, gets through the process as quickly as possible. And, not to be lost on it too. This is why this project means so much to me, is that like it's in my neighborhood. I can look out my window here and almost I can see the pickle factory. I can't quite see the hospital, but like I've lived in the neighborhood for 20 years. Todd's lived in Corktown for 20 years. Alex up until recently lives in the neighborhood. Like we know we know who's going to show up and support. We know who's probably going to say some things in meetings, and this is our backyard. So we joke, and I no one's corrected me, but I think this is the first time that a C-suite in American sports has built a stadium in their own census tract.
Are you concerned a little bit about, because Mayor Mike Duggan isn't seeking re-election? Is it concerning to you a little bit about a new administration coming in and maybe kind of sidetracking things, making putting up some more hurdles for you, especially it's still just because the whole MLS thing is still there, and Detroit being a top 15 market without an MLS side is still there. And what are your thoughts on that?
No, well, one, the public approval process, should and needs to move forward in 25. So that's something that will be taken care of while Duggan is still in office. Given my past jobs, I've known several of the council members professionally and personally for a long time now. I know several of the people who will be running for mayor on a personal level. Some I don't know as well, but I think we have a lot of credibility in the community, and that and support. So I'm not super concerned about that. And I'm unaware of any, not even legitimate, even approaching legitimate rumblings of any MLS efforts in this region. So not anticipating. Never say never in American soccer, but I'm not anticipating any kind of indie scenario happening here in Detroit.
Interestingly enough, though, I have to ask you, because just a couple more questions about the stadium, and we can kind of move on to our final segment here. The stadium size, what was it, Garrett? Is it 14?
14.9, I believe, was what
it 14.9, Sean?
I don't know. I've never said a number, so I don't know where they're.
You never said a number, really?
I don't think so. All I've said, it's amazing what when you don't say a lot, what gets out there. I think I've held true. The only thing I've said is that it'll be comparable to the largest stadiums in USL.
Okay. Because it was because the number that was being talked about was, as far as pro league standards go, is right below Division I. And and my original question was that done on purpose?
So I would say,
just in case down the road, you never know.
Yeah, I would say us and every stadium that is being designed and developed right now is designed with some notion of scalability, because these stadiums need to last for a bare minimum of 20 years beyond. And seeing what has transpired in American soccer in the last 10 years, like you have to future-proof yourself as much as possible. So, yeah.
And
whatever size the stadium starts at is not what it would finally be. Yeah.
Do you have a sponsor? Do you have a name for it already?
No, I mean, we're the onus is on us to have guaranteed revenue streams. So we're very far in that process. And so, it's very real possibility that when the renderings come out, that we would already have a naming rights partner engaged. But
have you settled on a design yet?
Of the stadium?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep.
Okay. Yep. And you're scheduled to break ground this spring and open in 2027. Is all that still on track, given these harsh Michigan winters sometimes, and limited building limited building time in the,
Yeah, I got reprimanded by our owner's rep about my loose use of terminology, but yeah, we're working towards uh, demo of the hospital and site work and all that stuff in Q2. So groundbreaking, I guess, technically after that. So, but yeah, we're still working off of opening in spring of 27.
All right.
So now we're rolling into about 2025. 2024 ends with a fun community event. Sean, I know we were talking about it before we hit the record button, which is a New Year's ceremony you do. For the youth on there, we might be seeing a friendly appearance. Big event that you guys do with the community fills up Detroit City Fieldhouse. And then this coming weekend, the first weekend of 2025, is the home opener for the MASLW side. As we talked about, as the indoor side moves on to this route, and obviously the men in a couple of months away from now. Anything you can kind of fill us in as far as maybe what people could be looking at for the club, as far as like maybe some partners for 2025, as far as what to look forward to potentially, and also for any of our say any shareholders that are listening to this, and anything, if you have a date maybe for the 2025 all general meeting, which also includes like a review afterwards for kits. Obviously it's interesting because I know the women have every weekend until March except one, and then as soon as they end, the men start.
Yeah. I mean, so this is our 4th year in USL Championship, so we're starting to get into like routines of a calendar, right? Unless we add a new team. And so, yeah, as you mentioned, we have the New Year's Eve kids party, balloon drop at 5 on the 31st, and we'll have the same setup and lights and all the stuff for the women's MASLW opener for Saturday. So it'll be a wicked party for the kids, and then for the ladies, Saturday night we'll get that season started properly at home. And then, yeah, as mentioned, there's a lot of indoor games. We will have the annual owners meeting. I think we will announce that shortly, but it'll be on a weekend towards the end of February, like in past years, where we'll do the jersey reveal and everything like that. And, thanks to the stadium announcement, again, that's kind of just raised our profile in this whole region. We've seen a lot of traction and growth on the sponsorship side. And so, we should see a new from the jersey sponsor. Yeah, I mean, that will coincides with us, increasing the investment on the field product, and, still, quite a few more players for Trevor and Danny to be rolling out between now and then. So, yeah, it's very exciting. I mean, yeah, the women will have a lot of fun indoors, and then kind of builds up to, what should be even bigger and better men's season starting March 8th. Yeah.
Will that new front of jersey sponsor be effective starting with this season beginning in March?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So, folks, get ready to look forward to already. We're already on things on there. Is there any? This is the first with the men edition in USL Championships entering into the USL Jägermeister Leagues Cup. I figure I might as well get the branding out of the way, just in case if you hear anything at the Board of Governors meetings of why we aren't including sponsors. Portland Hearts of Pine away, Westchester SC at home, from the new USL League One sides, W League starting in the spring, a couple new sides, a couple local sides, including one in Macomb that has some ties. It has a nationals ties to some of our existing players. We've talked about that in one of our most recent episodes with Sean Spence. Is there anything in particular you're already like what you're seeing on this calendar right now, whether fully revealed to the public or not revealed to the public? Is there something that you're already like eyeballing, like I can't wait for this?
Ooh, I mean, there's a lot of home games in the summer months. A lot that wasn't lost on us. We're in advanced conversations, actually way earlier than we are in normal years with on the international friendly front. There's always a lot of work to get those over the line, but it's been fun. It was fun having Pumas back. Looking to do something similar again this summer, as well as conversations with some European teams. So would hope for at least one international friendly, but hopefully maybe possibly two. And Open Cup, it seems safe to say it's coming back and might be getting bigger from where it was last year. So that's always, for me, I've always enjoyed the Open Cup, big proponent of it. So excited to see that be coming back. So yeah, so I don't know. Like, is there any one match standing out for me right now? No, I don't know. Like, it's a long season and there's lots of joy to be had throughout. So I don't have anything particularly circled on the calendar per se. I mean, I will, the Hearts of Pine, I do look forward. I love Maine, so I look forward to going out to Portland for that game.
It's like it's a popular one amongst a lot of people, is heading out to Maine to watch that one.
Yeah, that's one we're looking forward to. We haven't pulled the trigger on which supporter bus or season ticket holder bus trip we'll do. Not that we've had the greatest success on the field with those, but
please,
I know
Sean, please do. No,
I was
please
waiting
don't
to
do
see
it.
if he was going to say
Please
something.
don't do
I was
it,
really to see if he was
Sean.
going to say something about it.
off the field, I mean, I've heard nothing but positive things, me outside the air conditioning, but they're very memorable. But yeah, on the field, I know we haven't lived up, but we'll have to figure out which one that is. So, no, I mean, no, I think there's something to be said for like culturally, the stability that we're in right now. Like there's continuity, and I think this is an exciting pivot point of like, like, are we gonna start seeing rivalries develop with some of these teams now that are more organic, with more year over year like competition with them, and it's different than where we've been as a club, right? Like, when's the last time that we were in a league 4 years in a row? Like that goes back to NPSL days, but that was wild and crazy, and you didn't know who you were playing, up until March. So it's just a whole different world.
We don't want to. I mean, obviously, we want to keep you too long. We're almost 45 minutes in, and it is the holiday season right now. So we appreciate you, taking the time and everything. A couple of other things, regarding 2025 and beyond. One thing coming up, and I want to get your thoughts on this because Detroit City FC has been such a, kind of a stalwart when it comes to lower league soccer in this country. And it sounds like that NASL lawsuit is, the trial surrounding that is set to get underway, within the next couple of weeks in January. What are your thoughts on that and how it may affect lower league soccer and soccer in general in the United States, especially leading up to the World Cup in 2026?
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm a proponent for changes to the pro league standards. Probably not on the same page as a lot of people, but I think there needs to be some flexibility and change to it. I think interestingly, the NASL lawsuit has probably held up some change to the PLS because of the litigation and U.S. Soccer just not wanting to touch it. I think we saw a league survive a lot longer than it should have because U.S. Soccer didn't want to do anything because of this lawsuit. So I think it'll be good to get this lawsuit over. If I had to guess, I probably think Rocco wins, but it's going to be a dollar, compensation or something like that. It'll be more of a moral victory, and what change probably comes of it is change that probably was already bound to happen. Things like the 35% rule, I feel, MLS even wants to see that changed as they need more capital. Like there's just certain things that I think, are already happening in that space. In terms of like the health of like lower division soccer in this country, I do worry about MLS Next Pro. Hard to convey how disappointed I was with the Grand Rapids decision. Disappointed, not surprised, I guess would be the way to put it. And I get people's misgivings about USL, but the MLS Next Pro like expansion into smaller markets, I don't know if that's necessarily for the best of the game. And not that that's what MLS has ever pitched it as, but I do worry that that's going to just create a race between USL and MLS, and I don't know if that's for the best of the sport. I mean, ultimately, our biggest issue in this country with soccer is that we got to get people to care about local soccer. We have to create clubs that people care about, and not just in select cities, but in cities across the country. I think that's a unique opportunity for soccer that we can have a chance to do that. And until we figure that out, you're just going to have more and more people tuning in to watch Premier League and Bundesliga and Liga MX than they are, the domestic leagues. And that's not just on MLS, it's on USL, it's on everybody. We got to figure out how to create, a more compelling reason to support your local clubs here. Because the growth, it's undeniable, the interest in the sport and its place in society has grown and become more entrenched. But, as that pie has grown, the domestic clubs, I don't feel like our pie has grown, like correspondingly. It's been outpaced by interest in the game globally. So, that's, as Crane's put it out, like, we lost $2 million a year the last few years, and we have, incredible partners that we brought on, incredibly supportive, and it's given us runway to get to this point where we are now getting more and more sponsors on board, and we're in a position to, build a stadium. But, we're the average team in USL, and the vast majority of MLS teams are in red, and that's not by design, and it's not like where people want to be in perpetuity. So we need to, as a collectively, just figure out how we get more people interested in spending more money on the game here locally.
Two more questions for me. Do you think that the World Cup in 2026 is going to help with that, that local interest, or is that something that's more, kind of a short-term interest, or is it too idealistic, to think that the World Cup is going to help with that?
I'm a bit skeptical about it. In large part, it's not like there's any new infrastructure being built. It's just temporary conversions of NFL stadiums.
Sure.
So, and
like in '94.
Yeah. But I mean, I think in '94, I think that kind of caught people by surprise. Like, and I don't think soccer is catching anyone by surprise right now. Right.
Yep, fair enough.
So I think it'll definitely be a bump. Is it a bump that we're all should bet our houses on? No, I don't think so. I think the sport is in a more solid place now than it was 30 years ago. So and it's funny. I mean, I say that, but I had a local government official tell me just in the last couple of months, hey, Detroit should bid to host the World Cup. And I was just like, I hate to break it to you, but like, one, that got decided like 6 years ago, and we didn't even try, and on top of that, like, there's Toronto, but like Kansas City is the only place in the Midwest, like it is skipping over this entire swath of North America. So, maybe some teams are gonna be doing trainings, camps, but it's funny, the more pro teams I talk about, they don't want to deal with FIFA. So, the shines come off of that. So it's, yeah, I mean, unless people are traveling to Philly or DC or Dallas or Houston, it's not really going to be impacting us a lot here, obviously. So, I don't mean to be a downer about it. It will definitely have a bump. I just, I think it's hard to say it's going to have the same like seismic impact that '94 did in terms of like, elevating the sport in the country, because the sport's just in a better place than it was then.
Tend to agree. And then lastly for me, I think this is something that I know Garrett probably wanted to, he was wondering himself, given the position the team was in with this particular league, the perceived death of NISA. What are your thoughts on all of that? And you kind of mentioned it earlier about, with regard to the lawsuit and PLS and, federations not paying attention, not caring as far as PLS standards go, maybe for one particular league. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but I mean, it's true though. It seemed like PLS, the federation didn't care about NISA when it came to enforcing PLS. But what are your thoughts on the perceived death of NISA?
So, it's I feel bad for foremost for the players, and I'd say the fans, but I know there's only some of these teams just didn't have any fans, right? And so that's a issue first and foremost. But I feel bad for these guys, these players. We obviously had our crop of these all stars who were able to get an opportunity to play at a higher level and like reach a new ceiling. There's so many guys out there who want to play and were so desperate and they signed on to bad situations and they got taken advantage of either maliciously or by guys who had the best intentions but no wherewithal to pull off, running a professional organization. So it's unfortunate to see opportunities going away for guys, but also, I think U.S. Soccer's governing body has and had a responsibility to ensure the health of the sport, and there's a reason you have minimum standards of some variety, and when those aren't being met, it's not a good look for the sport in this country. And so, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on NISA. I don't take anything away from all the trophies we won and all the moments and all the memories and everybody who participated in it. It was a fun, wild experience, and we, I think, successfully navigated it to get to a more stable place for this club to kind of live up to its potential. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and there's a lot of good people that I got to know over the years in that league, and most all of them are gone at this point. But I'll always appreciate that.
Two questions from me then. One is related to this lower league, and that's going to be another old league we were in, our starting league, the NPSL. League for Clubs has been started by a handful of people formerly involved, I think, with NPSL around that. We heard rumblings. I think it was Michael Batista that put out a report about a potential merger. NPSL, League of Clubs. Do you have any statement you want to make or thoughts on that?
Oh, I mean, we obviously had our frustrations with the old NPSL leadership, and as we were on our way out, and I find it's unfortunate, when you look at the crop of teams that were in NPSL, and we're trying to do something. I thought, that was altruistic and for the good of the sport and creating like this new ecosystem, and but we didn't have the sport we should have had, and so we ended up, by default, ending up in NISA. And so I know a lot of those folks who stayed behind in NPSL had a lot of frustrations that had been boiling up for years. And Sonny D'Alessandro down in Tulsa is one of my near and dear friends, one of the true friends I've made through soccer over the years. And so, I trust him and his vision, and he's doing it for the right reasons. And you don't say that often for people in this ecosystem, but he absolutely is. And so I wish him and Dennis and Eric Housley, there's a lot of good guys involved for the League of Clubs, and so wish them all the best of luck and help them wherever we can.
And then my last one kind of connects to us, but also the general state of the women's game in the United States. USL Super League, year one, started off in August. Obviously, this was the most successful year yet for Detroit City for the women's side, especially on the outdoor front. In a W League, the W League for a couple month a year thing is making a lot of growth. Riverhounds have an affiliate club starting this year. Obviously, we talked about Union Macomb for locally, Toledo Villa, an old NPSL team, rival of us in the men's side, now having a team in the women. But as we get towards whether it's in the next couple of years, where do you see, one, how are you seeing the Super League right now? And two, do you feel, how comfortable are you feeling like Detroit, maybe the chance of Detroit City's women going professional in, say, the next couple of years?
Well, as long as we're in Keyworth, I don't say this is a cop out, but like as long as we're in Keyworth, I don't see us changing up our setup on the women's side for a whole host of reasons, right? But in part, one, we have a limited use of Keyworth to Super League schedule playing games. November, December, early in the calendar doesn't really lend itself to being out in the exposed environment at Keyworth. Um, but also there's still a wait and see with Super League whether they keep the current calendar or if and just the trajectory of the league. And as our friends at Cranes are reporting, like we're not operating in the black here, so it's kind of hard to justify something that's going to nearly double our expenses, and I have doubts if it's going to double our revenue, right? So that's has to be part of the equation. So nothing's changed in terms of like our goal objective is to have that parity with the women being professional, but it's not something that I see changing in the next 2 years while we're still in our current setup.
All right. And then finally, as a kind of a closing this off and putting a bow on, say, 2024, so to speak, as far as this recording goes, is there anything that you want to leave, like any final notes you want to leave, or to anyone that's checking this out?
For 2024 or 2025, sorry.
In general.
Yeah, and 2024, there was a lot of great memories, a lot of great memories. Didn't quite get to the top of the mountain, but a lot of great stuff. And I think there's a lot of positivity around the club, like good vibes. Rock is a business. Business is good. Season tickets for 25 are already our all-time high. Have passed where we were in 24. So we'll just kind of continue building on that and building on a brighter future, 25 and beyond.
All right. Well, Sean, as always, thank you for taking the time. As Adam
Thank you,
mentioned, on
Sean.
this holiday and on this holiday weekend, on this Monday afternoon in general, for joining us here. For anyone else that's wanting to go check out Detroit.themajorsports.com for all of our content, including this episode, as well as our YouTube page at The Majors TV. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Instagram, and TMSNX Detroit, and a Blue Sky on tmsnxdetroit.bsky.social. So for Adam, for Garrett, and for our special guest, Sean Mann, today, thank you very much to everyone who's checked out this special edition of Detroit City Sportscast. Have a happy holidays, have a happy new year, and until next time, see ya.
Yeah.
All right. That y'all just checked it out. A fun recap. We're in the recap of our interview with Sean Mann. Adam, how are you feeling after that, man?
It was. I thought it was good. I thought it was a good. I thought Sean, gave us some good information heading into 2025. I mean, I didn't think we were going to get, I don't think we were going to get like much of, with regard to, who's paying for the stadium, where that money's coming from, or anything like that. But like you said, I thought we did get some stuff that, he did talk about some stuff that, was interesting. It was interesting.
Yeah. I feel good when I obviously we covered a wide amount of things, and to kind of get an idea on what an announcement like the stadium site means for the partners, I'm really curious to see what that looks like for Detroit City FC in 25, especially we'll see it more on the men's side first, I feel like, before anything. And for example, new shirt sponsor, who's that going to be? Who's these other partners you're going to see coming in? Whether it's that means ads on the the little signs that'll get destroyed by a opposing player kicking the signboard when he misses a ball, or television ads, anything like that. I think it gives you a sign of where the potential, I think, growth is into this club, and leading to that eventual be all end all that is the stadium site. You prepped yet for the women's indoor and the sensor and us having to manage our sensories on Saturday?
No, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
I am looking forward to it. And as far as like the women's stuff goes too, I mean, I'm not shocked that that's kind of where things are with the club right now. I mean, he did make a good point that, if you're working in the red right now, why would anybody add, a feature to the club that could potentially double your expenses?
And while
So, I
women's
mean,
attendance was up this year, it needs to become sustainable.
mhm.
It can't just be a one-off thing. It has to be a sustainable thing year in, year out to make it seem more feasible. Like, hey, this is something you can do for a year-round operation.
Which it can be too. I mean, that's been a huge topic of conversation when it came to the women's team, getting people to come out and watch them, buy tickets and everything for it. And that's something that we've talked about too on other episodes, whether it's, the Detroit City Sportscast, Make City Make Spence, Tunnel Talk. And that's, the art of winning football matches, and what's going to help get more people to come out and watch a team, and that's winning football games, that's winning soccer matches, that's and if Coach Dwayne and his staff and the team are able to put together another season of success like they did last year, then you could only assume that things are going to grow with the women's side of the club. So, yeah.
To give a brief note for the W League, this will be Saturday's match, Saturday, January 4th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. The field house, I believe it's already sold out, if not relatively close. Go check the club's website for tickets if interested. I think they're $5. Playing the Iowa Demon Hawks. Detroit City is sees 1-0 in MSLW League play, an 11-7 win over Kalamazoo United on December 21st in Portage. It'll be a fun time. And then
he did mention too about the owners meeting. It's going to be on a weekend.
Yeah,
it's going to be on a weekend. I know Garrett probably already has that narrowed down to something.
Well, he probably already knows. I thought it was going to be, because I was based off of the women's schedule, but maybe it's tied into something. So
could be. Like I said, I'm interested to know where it's at. I'm hoping it's a cool location.
Yeah.
One of the only other disappointing things that I got from the whole interview is they're planning to do another bus trip, which
you were not happy about that.
No, I wasn't. I was not happy about that.
For those that are wondering, Detroit City FC had two bus trips on back-to-back Wednesdays. The first one was to Indy 11 in the Open Cup, a 3-0 loss. The next week it was to Louisville and a 5-1 loss. And
I feel
last
bad
year,
for Rasan and ticketing. That's
in 2023, our two bus trips were a 2-0 loss to Pittsburgh for season ticket holders, and then a 3-0 loss to Indy in the fall of 2023.
I mean, it's bus trips in general, because bus trips in general are not good for the team. Supporters organized a bus trip in 2023 to Indy. And what was the final of that one, Garrett?
That's what I was saying. It was Indy 3.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
But yeah, no, it wasn't just 3-0. It was just a empty defeated match. I think I watched that match, and it reminded me of that what was on my TV when we recorded our last sportscast of the Blues wins. That's what the Detroit City equivalent of that.
We thought it was the death blow. We thought that was the death blow to the season.
Yeah. So seems like there's some fun things along the pipeline. We'll keep obviously people in the know. We're probably not going to do a full one on the other things, so I'm sure this will probably be for the next. What we'll do is tease you for the next Detroit City Sportscast episode. We'll talk about where the Lions are at. Don't know if we're going to get one out before the regular season finale or after. We'll fill in on Detroit Red Wings news. Obviously, new coaching change and them looking like an actual fucking hockey team yesterday. And the Detroit Pistons already equaling their win total from all of last season before year's end. So plenty of things to talk about, and some Detroit Tigers news. So that way Adam is not turning gray. But yeah, I don't know. Anything else you want to close in before we tie a bow?
Nope, just like Garrett mentioned before we got off with Sean, check us out at our website, DetroitOtherMajorSports.com, and all social media platforms, Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube.com/TheMajorsTV. Like, subscribe, leave a 5-star review, which, like I said, we don't have very many avenues to support. But if you do want to support us, subscribe, like, and again, leave a 5-star review if you can, just because that helps, bump us up in the algorithm. So that's something we really, really appreciate. Get more ears, get more eyes on the show and in the work that we do. So
best way to describe us is we're media pro bono. So that's kind of it from there. So, but yeah, other than that, like everything there, you can find Adam, TMSNX Adam on his socials, GM Comats on mine. And yeah, thank you to everyone that's been continuing to check all this out, including this recent episode. We hope that you continue to have a safe, happy holidays, a happy new year. And yeah, until next time, see ya.
yeah.